Close your eyes and think about your childhood bedroom. Can you smell it? Hear the sounds from outside your window? Feel the texture of that old blanket? Now here's the uncomfortable truth. That memory you're cherishing right now, the one that feels so vivid, so real, so perfect, it probably never existed the way you remember it. Welcome to the strange, beautiful paradox of nostalgia. We've all felt it, that bittersweet ache when an old song comes on, or when we stumble upon a photograph from years ago. But nostalgia is more than just remembering. It's remembering wrong, in the most emotionally satisfying way possible. And that's not a bug. It's a feature of how our minds cope with an uncertain world. Today, we're going to explore why nostalgia feels more powerful than the actual past ever was. We'll discover how our brains airbrush reality, why we romanticize the good old days when facing present anxieties, how familiarity becomes emotional comfort food, why memory itself is an unreliable narrator, and how shared cultural moments amplify our collective longing. By the end, you'll never look at your rose-tinted glasses the same way again. The idealization machine. Let's start with a simple experiment. Think about your favorite year from the past. Maybe it's a specific age or a particular period of your life. Got it? Now, be honest. How much of that year do you actually remember? If you're like most people, your favorite year is really just a highlight reel. A summer vacation here, a birthday party there, maybe a relationship or friendship that felt special. But what about the boring Tuesdays? The arguments, the anxiety about that test or that job interview? Our brains are obsessed with storytelling, and every good story needs editing. Psychologists call this fading affect bias, the phenomenon where negative emotions associated with memories fade faster than positive ones. It's like having a film editor in your head who systematically cuts out all the dull and painful scenes, leaving only the moments that glow. Over time, an average summer becomes the best summer of my life. A decent job becomes when work actually meant something. A complicated friendship becomes when people really understood each other. This isn't lying, it's curation. And we do it automatically, constantly reshaping our past into something more beautiful than it ever actually was. The anxiety antidote. But why? Why does our brain bother with this elaborate reconstruction project? The answer lies in what's happening right now. Research shows that nostalgia spikes during periods of uncertainty, loneliness, or disconnection. When Dr. Konstantin Sedekaitis and his team studied nostalgia across different conditions, they found something fascinating. People became significantly more nostalgic when they felt cold, isolated, or meaningless. The past becomes most appealing when the present feels most threatening. Think about the last few years. The upheaval, the uncertainty, the rapid changes in how we work, connect, and live. Notice how "remember when" became everyone's favorite conversation starter? That's not coincidence. When the present feels chaotic and the future feels unpredictable, the past offers something precious: certainty. It's already written. It's already survived. And in our edited version, it's already good. Nostalgia becomes a psychological safe room, a place our minds retreat to when reality feels overwhelming. It's less about actually wanting to return to the past and more about borrowing its emotional comfort to face an uncertain present. We're not really longing for 1995 or 2010 or whenever. We're longing for the feeling of security we've retroactively assigned to those years. The gravitational pull of the familiar. There's also something deeply comforting about the familiar, even when the familiar wasn't actually that great. This is why comfort food is usually something from childhood, why we re-watch the same shows, why hearing a song from high school can instantly transport us to a specific feeling. Psychologists talk about mere exposure effect, the phenomenon where we develop preferences for things simply because they're familiar. But nostalgia takes this further. It's not just that we prefer the familiar, it's that familiarity itself gets encoded as goodness in our memories. The restaurant you went to every Friday after school wasn't necessarily better than restaurants today, but it was yours. It was part of your routine, your identity, your world when that world was smaller and more comprehensible. In an age of infinite choice and constant novelty, the familiar past offers something rare: boundaries. There were only so many TV channels, so many places to eat, so many ways to spend your time. And within those limitations, you built a life. Nostalgia isn't just longing for specific things, it's longing for a time when your world had edges, when you knew your place within it. Memory, the unreliable narrator. Here's where things get truly strange. Every time you remember something, you're not accessing a file stored perfectly in your brain. You're reconstructing that memory from pieces. And in the process, you're changing it. Neuroscientist Elizabeth Loftus has spent decades demonstrating just how unreliable memory is. In her famous studies, she showed that people could be convinced they were lost in a mall as children, or that they saw Bugs Bunny at Disneyland, neither of which happened. Each time we recall a memory, we're actually remembering the last time we remembered it, incorporating new emotions, contexts, and interpretations. This means your most cherished nostalgic memories, the ones you've revisited hundreds of times, are likely the most corrupted. That perfect summer day? You've probably been adding filters to it for years, each retelling smoothing another rough edge, brightening another color, until what remains is less a memory and more a mythology you've created about yourself. And here's the beautiful irony. This unreliability is exactly what makes nostalgia so powerful. Because we're not constrained by what actually happened, we're free to create the past we need. Memory becomes emotional alchemy, turning the lead of actual experience into the gold of nostalgic comfort. The power of shared moments. But nostalgia isn't just personal. It's collective. And this is where it becomes truly potent. When an entire generation shares cultural touchstones, a TV show, a tragedy, a technological shift, a musical movement, those moments become anchor points for collective identity. Millennials and the before times of pre-internet childhood, Gen X and the fall of the Berlin Wall, Boomers and the moon landing. These shared experiences create what sociologists call collective nostalgia, and it's more powerful than individual nostalgia because it comes with built-in validation. When you say, "Remember when we all watched the same 3 TV shows?" and someone else lights up with recognition, your nostalgic memory gets reinforced. It's real because someone else remembers it too. Social media has supercharged this effect. We can now find thousands of people who remember the same commercial, the same toy, the same cultural moment, creating echo chambers of shared longing that make the past feel even more vivid and important than it actually was. So why does nostalgia feel more powerful than our actual memories? Because it was never really about accuracy. It's about meaning. Nostalgia is what happens when our brain's need for comfort meets memory's flexibility. We edit out the pain, amplify the pleasure, and create a past that's perfectly calibrated to soothe our present anxieties. The familiar becomes sacred, the uncertain becomes certain, and shared experiences become proof that we belong to something larger than ourselves. But here's what's worth understanding. Recognizing that nostalgia is a beautiful lie doesn't make it less valuable. The comfort it provides is real, even if the memories aren't entirely accurate. The connections it forges are genuine, even if the past we're connecting over has been collectively mythologized. The key is balance. Use nostalgia as a refuge when you need it, but don't let it become a prison. The past wasn't as perfect as you remember, but that's okay, Perfection was never the point. The point was that you survived it, grew from it, and now carry forward the best parts while leaving the rest behind. Maybe nostalgia is our mind's way of being kind to us, of saying, "You've been through a lot, and look, here are the highlights. Here's proof that you've known joy, belonging, and meaning before. And if you found it once, you can find it again." So here's my question for you. What's your most powerful nostalgic memory? And when you really examine it, how much of it do you think is real versus reconstructed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to know how your brain has been editing your past. And if you enjoyed this exploration of why our minds work the way they do, subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of being human.